We're all connected.
Hello, sweet souls. Thank you for your presence, your energy. I already see some people are here live. And this is a podcast that at any time, if you have a question, comment, feel free to put those right below here. And as we know, sharing is caring. And if you don't feel like writing a whole paragraph essay, then just give us one of those emojis, which is the international language of the cosmos at this time. It doesn't matter who you are, everyone understands an emoji. Give us some love. A lot of people know that it supports us with the algorithms to allow for this extraordinary interview that I'm about to have to really be seen by as many people as possible. And as always, if you want to follow me, you can go to DTO Music on all the social media platforms. Go to dtomusic.com and listen to my music. Also, we are having a Costa Rica retreat. So you feel free to go to embodycostarica.com if you want to come and be in the pura vida, as we call it in Costa Rica. And Kelsey, who will be my guest today, she will share as well about a retreat she has coming up. So without further ado, we have Kelsey Aida, and she is a next generation thought leader who has taught thousands of people how to own their power and win at life through her inspirational books, online courses, and one-on-one coaching, as well as I was saying, international retreats. She also co-hosts a popular personal development podcast, Vibin It. And there are some books out that are new that we're going to talk about today. And those are Letters to the Universe and My Pocket Guide to Manifestation, as well as additional books that she has already written. So let's bring on Kelsey. How are you? Nice to see you.
Good. Nice to see you too. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to reconnect and, create a high vibe conversation for everyone to enjoy.
Absolutely. So let me talk about high vibes. Let me share right now your podcast. So anyone out there that would like to listen to high vibes, then here you go. Find it on your favorite platform. I'm sure it's all
everywhere.
Everywhere.
Just search High Vibin' It, but drop the G.
Yeah, exactly. Awesome. Yeah. And before we get forward, I think it's great to go backwards in time. And I want to share with everyone our origin story. I think this is a great image.
Yes.
So it was my preparation of a photo shoot. And this is me actually wishing you a happy birthday in January. And I was sharing my music with you because for a bunch of headshots that eventually, as I shared with you before we went live, if you go to my Spotify, if you go anywhere DTO is, the haircut is designed by your powerful talents. So it's fun to know. And this picture was taken, I think we saw it below, what is it?
2016.
2014. Way back.
I don't know. We've known each other a while.
We have. Yeah. So Kelsey and I met in the Encinitas, San Diego County community when we were both living in San Diego. And I know you now live on the East Coast in the States, and I live in Costa Rica. So wherever you go, there you are. That's my philosophy.
Yes.
We can be everywhere all the time, especially with podcasts as well as this live interview. Okay, so let's do a fun little drum roll because we're going to kick off the questions. Drum roll. All right. Everyone wants to know your origin story, Kelsey. Question number one today. When did you begin to love reading?
Yeah, so this is a funny story only because when I look back, you know how when you look back at things you like to do when you were a kid and then you're like, oh, of course I do that for my profession. Like when I was younger, I loved reading, like little inspirational books. Like I always loved reading the books where there was the hero's journey and then the hero won at the end. And then in my late teens, early adulthood, all the right books found me when I was asking for help from my life of like how to feel better, because I went through a long period of suffering from depression. And when I was ready to start feeling better, I just started manifesting all the right books. Like at the time, I was really into, Wayne Dyer, Louise Hay, all the Hay House authors, Gabby Bernstein, like anything that was going to inspire me, lift me up, connect me back to a more spiritual truth. Stories wise, I'm not big into reading stories. I'm more of a personal development junkie. But, I definitely read all the Twilight books when I was a teenager because I love a good vampire romance situation. But for me, reading it's really a way to either transport yourself somewhere in your mind, or it can be a really beneficial tool like the books that I write for improving your life, changing your perspective, opening your mind to new ways of being, living, and doing. So, yeah, I've kind of always loved reading. And in kindergarten and first grade too, I loved writing. I would write little stories about butterflies and they would go get ice cream, and like my teacher laminated them for me, so I even have them still somewhere. But I think I've always loved reading and writing.
Oh, that's so amazing. Yeah. What a gift to have those little morsels of goodness that can be integrated into your life. And as we know, certain things resonate, certain things don't, different chapters and times in our lives. So I love the fact that when you're a little girl, there's certain books that you were attracted to. That's fantastic. All right. So once you got inspired by reading other people's content and their works and inspirations, there always is this turning point. It's either like an aha moment or this gradual process where then after receiving that craft, whatever it is, in your case, books and the power of storytelling, then you're going to choose the pathway of becoming the author. So question 2 is, what inspired you to write your own books?
Yeah, well, going back to the depressive episode, when I was climbing out of it and learning all these life tools and adopting these new beneficial perspectives, I just had this strong urge to share what was working for me. So at that time, I would ingest information, I would try it in my life, and if it would work, I would be like, oh my gosh, everybody needs to know these things, or not needs to, that's too strong of a word. But if everyone had access to this information, the world would be such a better place. People would be enjoying their lives more. Maybe we would have less anxiety, less depression, more fun, more enjoyment, more expansion and growth. So, really, I was just having this strong calling that I wanted to teach in the form of books, because I felt that with a book, I could reach a lot of people with the same message. Like at that time, I wasn't considering becoming a coach or anything like one on one, because in my young adult mind, I was like, well, millions of people can read a book. So that could create large impact. Whereas, I can only work with so many clients in a day as far as coaching or something like that goes. So to me, it just made the most sense as far as like my teaching and explaining abilities to put it down on paper, publish it for the masses, and hopefully make the biggest amount of impact.
Yeah, what I think is really powerful is when I met you, one of the ways you were making an impact, this is a great little side story,
Yeah.
is you were writing little notes on people's car, like random acts of
Yes.
kindness.
Operation Illumination.
Yes, I'm like one of the original team members. I remember that because when you were cutting my hair and giving me all the good vibes for, it's funny, I'm from the cornfields of Iowa, very proud Midwestern kid. And I didn't even know like how to have a cool haircut. My mom truly did the bowl cut back in the day. So my awareness of what was cool, what wasn't cool. But of course, you moved to California, you have to have a little
Gotta get
California in
cool
you,
here
right?
in
Yeah,
California.
it's like you work in a chocolate factory, you're going to get some chocolate on your fingers. Same thing. You're in California, you got to get the California cool vibe. And it was great because I remember the idea, and this is way before, TikTok and the extent of what social media has taken on, right? It's like 2014. I mean, Facebook was there, but Instagram really wasn't, or it's just starting. So the whole like hashtag illumination and getting those random acts of kindness out in the world, I feel like like that's really powerful. So when you said the impact that you are creating as an author, I feel like those little seeds of goodness that you were doing at the local community level really then makes sense for why you're having this global reach with your podcast, with your books, and everything that you're creating in the world. So I just want to give all the listeners out there that fun little experience that I had with you.
Yeah, that's a
And
good
that became a
throwback.
book as well, right?
No, I didn't write a book called Operation Illumination, but if anyone wants to do it for fun, this was like a practice that James had taught me, and then I like wanted to bring it into this whole big thing. So
Mm-hmm.
basically, you just get a sticky note and you write like a little inspirational quote or something that would like make someone's day brighter, and then you have to secretly insert it into their life somewhere. So like put it on their car, leave it on their desk, like sneak it on their front door, but they can't see that it was you. So they just end up with this sticky note and they're like, oh my God, someone wrote me this little love letter from the universe. And then I used to have people put the hashtag so people would post about it and then hopefully it would spread. But Operation Illumination was kind of long for a hashtag. So I think that's why it didn't really explode.
Yeah. But the idea of bringing people a smile and just touching people's lives and creating that impact in little ways, I think that's really a great possibility. And let me see here. Let me see if I can share. I was on your page here. And if I'm not mistaken, this is an example of what that would look like for someone, right? Be the change you wish to see in the world, right? Just a simple note that you could put somewhere. And it looks like you had people that were sharing in your Facebook group about that. So I love it. Right? There's these little seeds of, having your mind be in that place of possibilities. And so I feel like your writing, which is inspired to inspire others, it really like pays it forward in that way. And that's just in your nature. That's the heart of who you are. So it makes sense that you're
Thank you.
writing all these amazing books out there around these
Thank
topics,
you.
affirmations and manifestation. And yeah, it's a good moment here. I want to share with everyone your catalog of books. So
Yeah.
this is my pocket guide to manifestation. This is a more recent one, correct?
It's launching today, May 10th.
Today.
It just went live today. What up? And it's 1:11 here my time when I said that.
Hello.
So.
And guess what? If anyone wants to jump on it, just go below here, KelseyAida.com. Beautiful. All right, we're just going to savor the 11:11 moment.
Yes.
So pocket guide to manifestation. And then you also wrote a book called Affirmations for Happiness.
Yeah. I can give you a quick little rundown of each book if you want
Absolutely.
to explain what
We'd
they
love to
are.
hear that.
So yeah, so the one that is out today, My Pocket Guide to Manifestation, basically has about 90 manifestation exercises, practices, rituals. It's really interactive. So there's different
Beautiful.
chapters for different desires. For example, a chapter on manifesting more financial abundance, a chapter on manifesting more vibrant health, a chapter for manifesting beneficial connections, a chapter for love, all the general things that we as humans would love to enjoy more of. And so each chapter has about 14 manifestation exercises you can play with in that realm to help you create results in your life and be really intentional and release resistance and blockages and all that jazz. And then the book
amazing.
Before that, if you scroll up a little bit, Letters to the Universe, I'm just going to go in order of how they were released. That one is a manifestation journal. So whenever you have a new desire, you go to your journal. There's some special brainstorming questions that help you get really clear, get in the vibe of what you're asking for, align with it, release resistance, and then you get to write a letter to the universe like, hey, universe, this is what I'm creating now. Thanks in advance for your help. Super excited to experience it, yada, yada. And you build that connection, build that relationship. And then it actually has perforated pages. So you can like tear out your letter and get witchy with it. You can sleep with it. You can burn it. You can do whatever you want. So that's a really, really powerful way to, at least for me, I've always loved writing down what I want. And it always happens if I write it down. So that's what Letters to the Universe is.
Wonderful.
And then before that was Affirmations for Happiness, which is the cute little yellow like sunshine book. And that book really has like daily doses of medicine that just bring like a little joy, a little sunshine, and a little happiness to your day. And you can almost use it like an oracle deck. So if you just flip to any page, you'll land on an affirmation. And then it has a little like one paragraph to just really help you embody that vibration. So it's really just a tool for experiencing more joy and like inviting more light into your perspective and your body and your brain. So that's that one. And then the first book that I ever wrote is called hashtag Actually I Can, The Art of Affirming Yourself to Greatness. And it's all about using affirmations in an authentic way instead of the fake it till you make it approach, which is not that helpful and can make you feel like a fraud. Like,
Mm.
for example, like the 80s affirmation approach is like, just say you're a millionaire a billion times and you'll become one. And it's like every time you say that, if it's not true, you just feel dumb. And then you create like more inner turmoil than before. So, really, that book is about how can you use affirmations in an authentic and empowering way so you can start to embody the person that you would like to become in every area of your life. So it's really like an affirmation troubleshooting guide in a sense. So yeah, those are the 4 books that are out now. There's plenty more coming where that came from. So if anyone's like, oh, I want to know what's going to be the new books, you can just go to kelseyaida.com and get on my email list, and then you'll always be in the know when a new book is coming out.
Oh, that's wonderful. And so here's your website.
Go all the
Make
way to
sure-
the bottom, and that's where you can get on the email list.
Oh, perfect. You got
Yeah.
your blog as well, got your bio, you got your e-courses that are available.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. And then you can subscribe.
There it is.
Excellent. Perfect. Nice. So let's go into your creative process.
Yeah.
So you shared your 4 books, and of course, I know you'll have 40, 400 in as you keep the flow
Probably.
flowing. Keep the vibes vibing. So there's a creative process for me as a musician. There's a creative process for you as an author. For anyone out there that's watching, listening, I feel like we're all creators. We're part of creation, and creativity is our birthright. And a lot of us have, possibly done the jobby job in the traditional cubicle experience. I've done that before. I've worked in offices. I was a school teacher working in like an institutional way of showing up to work, and rinse, wash, repeat, and it's very programmed. So when you're an author, when you're this embodied, free-flowing organism in the cosmos, and there's 1,000,005 ideas that could be coming down or coming from the earth, coming from the wind, coming from the trees, coming from an epic yoga class you took. There's an amazing conversation you had with your girlfriends, possibly. There's so many ways that inspiration can come. So question 3, it's a super open one, so you can go in any direction. So tell us about your creative process.
Yeah. So when it comes to writing books or writing articles or having a new podcast episode, I actually have a very specific creative process that I've kind of adapted over the years because I'm always getting bombarded with information, ideas, and inspiration. So I can't act on everything all at once or my head would just explode. So really in my phone, I have in my notes like my running list of great downloads that I get. So if I get a specific teaching about manifestation that's maybe like, I don't know, a different way to explain something or it's cutting edge, I'm like, ooh, write it down. And I'm like, that might be a good chapter for a book one day, or that might make a great article, or that might make a great podcast episode. And I just have all these running lists of good ideas, whether it's titles of books, because usually the title will come to me first. If it's not a collaboration with the publisher, which sometimes the publisher will just come to me with the title and then it's co-collaboration. So usually the idea comes to me, I write it in my notes. And then when I have the time to implement and execute an idea, I go back through my list and I ask myself, like, what's the most exciting thing for me to teach on, channel about, or speak about right now? Because like maybe when I had the idea, it was really charged, but now that I have the time to write about it, it might not be. So I go to my list, I figure out what excites me the most right now, and then I'll start working on that, whether it's a book or a chapter in a book or an article or a podcast. So that's kind of my creative process. I have the list and then I create the time. And then once I have the time, I decide what's the most exciting in that moment. And like for books, the way that I break it down is I always start with the title. And then it comes to me like what needs to be included in the book information wise. And then I'll break it down into parts of the book. And then once I have the parts broken down, I'll break it down into, okay, what do I want each chapter to be about? And then I write one chapter at a time, because to sit down and try and write just a book from a blank pages document is a very daunting task, and I would not recommend. So the way that I do it is I use a special program called Scrivener. It's for authors, and I can move chapters around and take out words and do authory type things with it. But really, it's just a process of making the time and then revisiting my downloads that have come to me.
Oh, that's so awesome. And so one thing that is important to know is, how do you as an author keep moving forward when there is resistance?
Yeah. Yeah. I think in the creative process, it's so easy to think that if you're coming up against blockages, that means that you should stop working on the thing, or that you shouldn't keep doing it, or the universe doesn't want it to happen, right? Like how we were talking about before, like, oh, it's getting hard, so that must mean something bad, XYZ. But really, we're the ones who place that meaning. Humans like to make a meaning out of everything, right? So you can make a
Yeah.
detrimental meaning of a circumstance, or you can make an empowering meaning of a circumstance. So when I come up against those blockages, sometimes, I mean, it depends on the circumstance, but like lately, when I've been coming up against blockages for this one book that I'm working on right now called Why the Law of Attraction Works for Some People But Not You. And it's basically like a sassy manifestation troubleshooting guide. I've been working on this book for years. Okay. So it's been writing itself, rewriting itself, scratch that, move this here, take that out, put this in. Like it has not been done because the information hasn't all come through. And in those moments, I could easily be like, oh, it's just not supposed to happen. Like all my other books came so fast. Like, I guess I just shouldn't write this, right?
Yeah.
Or
Shit on
I could,
yourself, shit on others.
exactly, don't shit on yourself. I always say that on the podcast. No shitting.
No shit.
Yeah, no shitting. But what I've been doing, which has been really helpful, is like, I think the universe is just like asking me how bad I want it. And I think this book is like birthing itself in its own time. Like the same way a child will come through when they want to come through, like the book is going to come through when it wants to come through. So if it hasn't come through, that doesn't mean it's not supposed to. That just means it wasn't supposed to yet until it does. So I think it's all about, assigning positive meaning to things so that you can feel empowered rather than defeated.
Yeah. And it's almost like universe is putting an obstacle course in front of you. Because if everything was all the time, massively easy, 100% of the time, well, think of it like strength in the body. Like the only way you get strong and build muscles is when you have resistance or some weight that you're lifting, or if you're a marathon runner, obviously you're creating muscles and you're creating strength, and your heart rate will even improve in your overall vascular system, right? Physical exercise, we know it, movement is everything. And so when you keep the movement alive, even though it's been a work in progress for multiple years for you, my debut album was 5-year process, a lifetime in the making. And as long as I was putting little steps in it and just cranking at it at a rate or philosophy, it's almost like the tortoise and the hare. And who wins in the end sometimes, right? La tortuga, right?
Yeah.
And it all depends. And what you're sharing too is that what I'm probably getting some insights from is your own personal process in your life with the material that you're calling forward to be manifested. That symbiotic relationship may not go at that velocity that the imagination, right? The coolest part about being a human being, in my opinion, is we can imagine and envision so many things, but to put it in from theory into practice, that's going to have those obstacles or those blocks or stoppages. So it's like, just keep on moving forward. And so with that project right now, and I'm sure a lot of authors that are listening have this similar experience, do you sometimes just shelve it for a while, work on another project? Or do you kind of dabble a little bit here and there and be like, oh, I'm just going to add a little thing here? Or is it sometimes for you, you're clear that it's going to stay in the archives, and once you've completed the next book, that then you can always go back to it? Kind of like testing it like the wind, like, okay, is this the
Mhm.
time or do I need to wait?
Yeah, I
When's the
have
divine timing?
right, I have been going back and forth with it, and since that has been taking years, like, the last 3 books that I wrote with Simon& and Schuster, they were all happening while this book had already been started, so there's definitely been a lot of, like, "Okay, let's put that on pause, live our life, write these other books, tend to these other ideas and creations, and then revisit and see if what was in it is still, like, cutting edge next level, or is it old now, we gotta rewrite it and rework with
Freshen it
it,
up,
which
yeah.
has happened a lot. So yeah, but I actually feel that this year is the time that it wants to be birthed, so we'll see if that's true, because I have felt that before, and then it wasn't the time, but I think this year is the time, so we'll see.
Oh, I love it. That's so great. Yeah, I've had songs like that as well, that all of a sudden they'll
They're
just
just
come
on
to
their
me.
own time. Mhm.
Yeah, and I'll remember, I'll be like, I'll go through my spreadsheet of all the possible songs that are in the archives, and like a lot of creative souls out there that you know who you are, it's so many back burner archived ideas, and however many come to the front. Sometimes I feel it's like a miracle that even a book launches, or it's a
Right.
miracle that an album can even get out there in the world, especially when you think of all the behind the scenes of what it takes. It's
Yes.
so powerful and awesome. Well, that feels great to me to understand that we're not alone. And I feel like a lot of
Yeah.
creative souls are like, oh, is this only me? And I'm being stopped and challenged. And why does the universe like make it so difficult? And why do I have to go 12 rounds in the ring? Why can't I just go one round and knock it out in one night? It's like,
Yeah,
oh.
and, like, especially for me with the other books being so easy, like, my first book from the first word on paper to published date was 8 weeks, okay? So, I don't like to move slow in general. As a manifesting generator, I know you understand that when you want it to happen, you can make it happen. And so most of my books I've written in less than a few months, I just channel it out. I reread it like one time. I hate editing. I just read it and I'm like, okay, that's is what's meant to come out. And for this one to have so much back and forth, it feels confusing. Like, oh, why is this the one that's like not coming easy? They all come so easy. And, like I said, I could make it mean that it's not meant to be, or I could maybe speculate that like maybe this one's going to be the best one yet. And that's why it has to take so
There you
long.
go.
You never know.
Masterpiece coming to a bookshelf near you.
Yes.
Love it. All right. So we've spoken about your origin story as an author, how you got inspired when you were a little girl. Of course, then you chose to create these books. And of course, we're hearing that there's another one in the making that's hopefully coming whenever it's supposed to be birthed. And then your own creative process of how it all works, from your own self-care, from your own ability to focus and allow for those messages to take place, and the bigger picture of what will make an impact. And so what kind of impact, question number 4, has happened with those individuals and readers and people that have responded to your book? So how are people responding?
Yeah, I think the biggest response that I get from people is that they feel some sort of empowerment. They feel some sort of relief. They feel that they resonate with the information and the messages that are in the book, or they just feel like life could be a little bit more fun and a little bit more easy. Because really, every book is to help people's quality of life. So the biggest feedback I get is that, yeah, it helped inspire someone or empower someone. Or my favorite thing about books in general is like just that one perspective that you never entertained before. You read it and you take it in and you're like, I am never going to live my life the same now that I think about it like this. So that I think that's really how people respond to my books. That's the biggest feedback I get like from all over the world is that it just feels like juicy, expansive, relieving, happy, growth oriented, which really is my intention with the books is to help people feel better and enjoy their life more.
Mm, I love that. That's sounds also like transformational, right? Like people
Yeah,
were
definitely.
this one form or way of being, or they had a particular mindset or perspective on how life was in the past. And then after getting your, um, as it says here below, anytime activities to set intentions, visualize goals, and create the life you want, right? That's transformation. That's
Yeah.
really choosing another pathway. And we all have blind spots. We don't know what we don't know around ways that we can show up for ourselves and others. And I recognize that these books are really these, it's a pocket guide, manifestation guide. It's, oh, here's my ally.
Yeah.
It's almost like having in San Diego County, only people know this, like the Thomas guide, right? Like back in the day before GPS, and then we had these fun apps. It's like, here's this guide that will take you wherever you want to go. Here's step-by-step how to get there. And not everyone, especially not in traditional public education, are people talking about how you call forward and magnetize and manifest whatever that powerful vision is that you have in your mind's eye or you have in your soul, your heart. And there's no like guidebook. So I love that you're creating these books for people to embrace and create their own impact in the world.
Yeah, thanks. It's cool too, because I think I have a gift for keeping things simple and fun. So in my books, I really just break it down in a simple way. Like, it doesn't have to be this big, complicated thing to reinvent your life. You just use the power of manifestation with all these fun tools and release a little resistance, and you can create some epic experiences for yourself.
Oh my God. It feels like you already answered the next question. So question 5, we'll frame it with a proper question. What's the intention of writing books? And start with yourself and in general for humanity. Have books paid as a contribution to who we are? And I know that they've made an impact in your life. Books have made an impact in my life. And for you personally as an author, when you set your own intentions, because it's almost a full like meta hyper self-awareness of your own observation of yourself as a human being on this planet, of if you're sharing with people how to create and visualize their own intentions, what is your intention to even create that intention? And we can go so many layers.
Yes, great question. So for me, what I learned when I was depressed, and this is going to be like a little dark and heavy for a minute, but then I'll bring it back up to the light. What I learned was that if you're willing to take your own life because you're having such a bad experience, then that means that the most important thing for humans is not actually survival, it's quality of life. With quality of life, we have nothing, we are willing to die, and we don't have a good time. And I just believe that we didn't come here only to suffer and experience pain. We also came here to be creators of our own reality, to grow, to play, to love, to learn, to expand. So being that my belief is that quality of life is number one, my intention with the books is to help people create their best quality of life, line up with their highest timeline, live their best lives, fulfill their dreams, reach their desires, feel better, heal their emotions, raise their vibration. So my intention with the books is really to improve people's quality of life so that their lives can be more enjoyable, more easy, more fun, and they can create a better life experience for themselves here and have simple and easy tools to do that. Because like I said before, it doesn't have to be some big complicated thing. So that's my intention with the books, generally speaking, like from a self-help, well, now they call it personal development space of books. I think it's really like the transmission of information. So I feel that I'm getting these downloads from source, from the universe, from God, whatever you want to call it, and putting it on paper. So then you can also download it into your mind and integrate it into your nervous system and your life. So to have a physical book with the transmissions in it, and then to take it in to your being is a way to, deliver information to all these people. So maybe I'm receiving it and then we can deliver it to a bunch more people. Helpful perspectives, beneficial ways of being. So that's a more broad way, I would say, of like personal development books, the intention behind them and how they're helpful. If we want to go into like storybooks, I think that's a whole nother category of like the intention. It could be anything. It could be escapism, which I'm not even saying is wrong. I mean, I'm down for some of that sometimes. It could be just to have a good time, to get lost in a story, to be inspired, to feel seen, heard, understood, to resonate with the character, So I think every author has different intentions for their books, but I know for me, it's really to transmute wisdom and ease and love and help people manifest their best lives, whether it's via like direct manifestation or whether it's a different book topic that kind of ties into transformation.
Yes, to everything. I will take all of that with a side of inspiration, a teaspoon of abundance,
Magic.
and yeah, stir it all into the big pot of magic, which is that beautiful way that education can come in so many forms. And I really feel like as a species, our birthright is to continue to learn and to grow and to be in that flow. And I love what you're doing with your podcast. I love the whole themes of your books because you're really creating transformational educational opportunities for people to shift their mindset, have a whole new perspective. And especially, and I appreciate you authentically sharing about the bouts of depression that you've gone through, is where then from that mud emerges the lotus flower.
Hmm.
And that metaphor is really great because it allows us to know like we're all in this shadow work and the darkness, and especially what we've been experiencing the last 2+ years of our lives. Like there's not everything is rainbows, sparkles, and unicorns. I wish it were, but then it's not the
Right.
contrast.
But
And
then
the
it would be
contrast,
boring.
it would be super boring because then
We would
everything
be
would
like,
just
what is this? This is so lame. Everything's glitter. Like, you have no context. I always say that, like, in the manifestation process of like getting what you want and creating the life that you want, step zero is experiencing the opposite of what you want. Because
yeah.
when you experience the pain, the turmoil, the suffering, the moments of contrast, you are really setting the stage for what you want to create. You're becoming clear about what you want. You're telling the universe, like, in a strong way, like, I don't want this anymore.
Yes.
I want the opposite of this. And that's really where, like, your energy starts to build for the manifestation. So without the contrast, you can't have the manifestation. And like we said, it would be boring if everything was all perfect all the time, because how would you know happiness if you had never experienced sadness? Like, how would you
Mm.
know that you're happy? You wouldn't. You would just feel that you're baseline, normal, numb. I don't know. But without the contrast, you don't have the context?
Yeah, it's almost like our heartbeat. Like without the ups and downs, we're dead, right?
Yeah.
It's there's movement. And even if it's these extreme emotional, traumatic experiences, it can really. It's almost like in your baseline gut of like agony and pain and tragedy. There's always this possibility of coming into the light, and
Yes.
that metaphor works for all of us in so many ways. And even for me, when I designed my first album, I was procrastinating. I was doing so much, and then I had a near-death car accident, and all of a sudden it was like, after you roll a car 7 times, and everyone said most people would, 99% of the time, people would die if they flipped their car 7 times. That's what happened for me. It was like I had this brand new breath of air and realization and gratitude for life herself. And I'm like, wow, I get to be a human being on this planet for this, blink of an eye. As we know, it's very short. And when you write books and you create music, then these are timeless activities where those people that you may not ever meet in person, or you may not ever know in our lifetime, they can have these knowledge, little morsels that
Yeah.
you've already lived. And because you've gone through the fire and you've gone through the dark night of the soul, then you have credibility, I feel. Because if you're,
Multiple times. That was just the
yes,
one story, but of course there's been more,
yes,
because there's chapters.
correct. And so your book, like Affirmations for Happiness, that anyone out there that's going to read Kelsey's material already familiar. Like when you read that book, for example, then it's like, ooh, okay,
Well, and I know, like, people
you
who
know
read
the
that
opposite of
book
happiness.
aren't already super happy. Like, if you're super happy, you're probably not going to read a book called Affirmations for Happiness. Probably you're going to read it if you want to feel more happy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like
Yeah, you're
me,
calling it
knowing
forward.
who's on the other side, who's someone who's wanting to accumulate more happiness and, raise their vibration to step into more joy. That's why I kept the affirmations in that book really gentle and not like, I'm happy all the time. My life is perfect. Like, those
Mm-hmm.
affirmations don't resonate with people who are wanting to experience more happiness. It's more like, I'm open to letting more happiness in. I'm ready to start receiving more joy in my life. I'm willing to do what it takes to create more happiness for myself. Like, I don't actually know how to make myself happy. I'm ready to learn. It's more
Mm.
of those progressive mantras and affirmations that help people gently step into it in a really authentic way, as opposed to, the fake it till you make it approach to affirmations, which, as everyone knows on this call now, I do not like because it doesn't work.
Well, I love hearing you say a daily dose,
Mhm.
and this is really what the medicine is and where the gift of expansion takes place. If you all feel like there's this possibility for us to reach self-fulfillment or self-realization, right? And I like the word self-fulfillment because there's certain times when you put your head on the pillow at night, you just feel like fulfilled. Like that was an awesome day. Like I got to do this and play over here and dance and laugh and cry and like have this whole emotional experience that we get to have because we chose to be embodied in these human experiences. And what I love about what you're sharing too is when the daily dose takes place, if you're an Olympic athlete, it's not like one day, the night before the Olympics took
Right.
place, you just started to become a runner. Like you are training daily. Or Michael Phelps, it wasn't like his first time in the water when he won all of his gold medals. Like there's this process, there's this continual stream of routines, and I like to call them life enhancing routines. And we do have life destructive routines. And those are habits, those are addictions that we have in our lives, and we all have them. And I'm addicted to these screens and these phones at times. I'm like, gotta put it down. How do I put it down? Okay, now I get to like run and play and be in nature and jump into a waterfall here in Costa Rica. And I'm unclear that I have that addiction. So I also like monitor and know like, okay, now it's time for me. And even I did this morning. I have a pad and paper over there. It's like drawing out our land. We're going to be building some structures and we have all these visions. But me just grabbing a pencil or a pen and writing it out, besides just texting or there's something powerful about that because it sounds super simple, but anatomically our hands are literally connected to our brain and our brain's connected to our heart. And it's like the knee bone's connected to the femur.
Yeah, and I feel like from a manifestation standpoint, it's symbolic, right? Because you're turning thoughts into things. When you write something down on paper, then it becomes physical. So it's like that metaphor of making it physical before it actually becomes physical, just turning the idea into a beautiful piece of paper with your intention on it. So that's like one of the reasons why I wrote letters to the universe or created it. It's more of a journal, not a book, but so people can write things with their hands, not on your phone, not on your computer. Write it with your hands, pen, pencil, paper, because that's when the magic can really get turned up.
Absolutely. And here that is. And I love the paper airplane.
Isn't that cute? The designer
Super
did
fun.
so cute on that one. Yeah, it's fun. Also, in real life, it has like the little star above universe is like gold and it like reflects. So it has like a little sparkle on the cover.
Oh, I love
It's
it.
cute.
I'm a big fan of sparkles.
Me too.
So great. So wonderful. Well, do you have anything else to share before we say adieu for the moment? How can people, well, let's start with this. Like, how can people that are listening right now that, or people that already know you, or how can people get access to your books? Are there Kindle books available? Are there audiobooks? Are there physical copies of books? So what's the best way for people that are watching right now to say, hey, I want to get my hands on, all 4 of your books, for example? Would they go to your website? What's the best way to do that?
Yeah, the easiest way is there's 2 different ways. You can go to kelseyaida.com. Under my shop, you'll find all 4 books and different buttons to all the places you can buy them because they're kind of available through all the different, you can get them on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Target, Walmart. But for example, my first book is self-published, so you won't find it in the store, whereas all the other books you can find at your local bookstore on the shelf physically. So if you want to actually go and support a bookstore in person, that's always really fun and cool. So you can do that for the last 3 books. Or you can just, go to the internet and type Kelsey Aida Raldi's books, and all 4 books, Google will just like pull them up at the top because it knows all the books that I've written. So that's another way to do it. And as far as connecting with me and my work, I would say I'm really prevalent on Instagram at Kelsey Aida. You can follow me on Twitter at Kelsey Aida. I'm Kelsey Aida everywhere. And then the podcast is a great way to just, absorb beneficial perspectives. And we have cool guests on and stuff. And I have a co-host. Her name is Lindsay Robinson. She's a hypnotherapist. So we're always talking about manifesting, raising your vibration, self-love, emotional healing, whatever is going to help raise the vibe of the individuals listening and the planet as a collective. So the podcast, you can listen to that wherever you listen to podcasts. Just search for Vibin It. No G in vibing because we're cool like that. We just dropped the G. And yeah, just KelseyAida.com is where you can find everything about me. I am hosting a self-love retreat in Mexico this October 12th to 17th. It is for women only. So sorry, hombres, you are not allowed. But we will be doing self-love work, healing work, raising our vibration, sharing our stories, just healing as a little collective and creating a sisterhood of self-love. So in paradise, doing fun Mexico stuff, going to private beaches, eating tacos, all the goodies.
Viva Mexico.
Yes, Viva Mexico. That's where some of my origins are. So that's why I host retreats there. And what I want the people to do as far as a call to action is really just like utilize me as a resource, whether it's by listening to the podcast, reading a book, hiring me as a coach. Like, I really feel strongly that I'm here to help people step into their highest potential and see themselves in the most beneficial light. So if you need help with that, I'm here for it.
I love that. And I'm going to put Instagram.
Yes,
love Instagram.
I love Instagram too. So I'm always on Instagram. You want to get fire download something really juicy, like piece of wisdom or life advice, to not just have like the meditations and the visualizations and all the fun stuff, but I also wanted to have like exercises where you can really get real with yourself and like troubleshoot some stuff. Like, okay, what limiting beliefs am I hitting up against? Why hasn't this already happened to me? Like, what am I not willing to change? And that's where we're getting stuck. So there's a lot of self-exploration in the book too. Don't let the cuteness of the book deceive you of its power. It's kind of like me. I'm cute but powerful. People underestimate me.
Yeah, well, that's the whole reason that you wrote your first book as well, right?
Yeah,
I can.
Actually, I can is more of like proving to myself that I can, which I still have my own relationship with. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, sometimes our own self-deprecation, our own feelings of ourselves, when we have those, then we're actually feeling like other people are feeling that, because if it's, it's an inside job, as we know, this whole human journey. So when you're feeling like that to yourself, if you're like self-conscious, like if I'm self-conscious, like, oh, people are looking at my whatever, my little my hair, my triangulo here, and I'd be like, oh, everyone's looking at it. Yeah, or my cool haircut, then I'm just like rocking it. But if you have something that you feel like, oh, people are going to see this or that, and most people are already in their own world thinking about their own stuff, being self-conscious, that it's not always, it's not like everyone's waking up in the morning thinking like, what's that person doing or that person. It's always that inward relationship with ourselves and what we're choosing to manifest, right? And also what I love what you're sharing too is overcoming whatever self-doubts, whatever you feel like other people have an impression about who you are. Maybe you had some experiences in the past, or that people think like, oh, that's the girl, that's the guy, this is the boy that did that one thing when they were a kid, and then they always think of you as that, right? Yeah. There's some, or whatever. I know people, my joke is I was in high school for 20 years because 4 years as a student and 16 as a teacher. Right. And there's always, kids sometimes are mean, and there's always some like crazy rumor started about, and then like they get labeled that, and then they feel like that's who they are, they identify with that, and it's really like self-deprecating, and then they can't ever go beyond that. So I love what you're creating is like this daily dose of affirmation. You can visualize whatever you want and truly be unstoppable no matter what kind of circumstances you find yourself in. I mean, there's so many stories, and you shared one today about, coming out of the dark and really choosing to optimize your life in ways that you've always dreamt of and envisioned, or even just having the time and space to take a few breaths and ask yourself, like, what do I want? And having your books and your ability to have people journal. I'm going to go through these again. Your pocket guide to manifestation, your letters to the universe, as well as going to your podcast and other books. I feel like all of these are really powerful tools in your toolkit. And how many people traditionally have toolkits on how to manifest, or how to, write a letter to call forward whatever they're desiring? Like that wasn't a part of the textbooks. Yeah. Do you remember that in your science textbooks?
I don't remember any life advice in my schooling on how to live my best life.
Exactly. Yeah. And so, I appreciate you being here. Appreciate you also sharing on your podcast these extraordinary ideas. Grateful that we met once upon a time in San Diego County.
Yes, me too. So fun.
So great. All right. So thanks everyone for being here. whether live, archive, wherever you are in time and space. We're grateful that you're here. And everyone can go right below here. Check out the website, kelseyAida.com en español. Es muy importante. And if you have any questions, as we talked about earlier, you can jump on Instagram. You can shoot Kelsey a DM. You can go to the website. You can order the book that came out today, as well as go and see about the coaching programs. You mentioned earlier that you offer one-on-one coaching. Love that photo. It's fierce.
Thanks.
Yes. And if anyone feels aligned to work with Kelsey, I highly recommend it. And thank you again for being here. And so much fun to connect and be in the flow. And
yes,
we fully answered all 5 questions. So our job here is complete. Thank you.
Love it. Signing off. Sayonara, everyone. Love you guys.
Hasta luego. Ciao.
I'm related to the tree. To the sun.